Welcome back to the S Rank podcast. I am your host, Sean NoBananaSuits, and this is your other host,
Hello.
Sean Welsh NoBananaSuits.
I am also Sean. If you're no banana suits, can I what's the opposite? Yes, banana suits. A banana
Yes,
suit?
banana tea.
There you go. Yeah. Banana
Yes,
tea.
strawberry
That would
tea.
be I feel like banana and strawberry is always a killer combo and it's not utilized
Well,
often enough.
didn't was it Nesquik that had like the banana flavored milk?
They have strawberry milk.
They have strawberry, but don't they have banana too?
They might. To be honest, they might, and I don't know enough to confirm or deny that one way or the other.
Oh yeah, they do.
They do? Oh, pull that up,
Yeah.
baby. Let's see
Hold
it.
on.
Oh, yeah.
I think they do. Wait. Maybe it's just
Banana
yellow.
milk. Just yellow milk.
Here we go. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'm with you.
Nesquik banana flavor milkshake powder.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you have to make it yourself.
I'm pretty
Interesting.
sure they at least
You
had.
get that in bottles?
Oh, dude. Here's the ultimate. This is our flavor right here.
Okay.
This is our flavor.
What do we got here?
Is it showing? Hold on.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Ooh,
Do you see
banana
that?
strawberry low-fat milk, too, for all the health nuts
I might have
out
to
there.
order that.
Yeah, that actually sounds
Look at the
really
updated
good.
branding on that. That's
Wow,
really nice.
Nicely done, Nesquik.
Nesquik has really stepped up into the new century. What is this one? Fudge brownie.
What the hell?
Should we get one of each flavor and do a taste test rank
Yes, absolutely.
podcast episode and
We-
then
we
get
are
diabetes and die?
We are not sponsored by Nesquik. We're simply fans.
We'd like to be.
We would like to be. We would happily. Oh, look at that guy doing a tasting.
This is the old school banana strawberry, but this is the branding that we grew up with. And you know what? This is even a little more modernized. You can see this.
Yeah.
The Bugs Bunny knockoff here is a little more.
Yeah. Do they still have him? Whatever happened to him?
Now he's this. They ripped his soul out and put him into this cosmic.
He's a silhouette. Wow. Very modern. Yeah.
I was like, it's interesting. This logo, you can look at it in two ways.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the rabbit is sitting and his ears are going like, this is his back ear and this is his front. This is his back ear and this is like his front ear going up. But I think it's actually his face. And this is one ear going forward and the other ear going back up.
Yeah, it's like one of those optical illusions where like a spinning thing and it can look like it's facing, either way. You ever seen one of those?
Yeah. No, because his cheek looks like it can be his tail or his cheek.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Wow, they
Nesquik,
they really knocked it out of the
that's
park.
Some smart design. It's got us thinking. It's got us talking. I want Nesquik now. The more we say it, do we have to pay them now?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I want to.
Nesquik, I'll pay you by buying a bottle of that banana strawberry, whatever the hell.
But dude, everybody, welcome back. It's been another week. You know what that means? Another game release day. Happy Armored Core release day.
Oh, true. Yeah, that's a big deal for all the mech fans.
All the mech
out there.
perverts.
Yeah, all those mech folks.
Perverts.
Those mech perverts. Can't get enough.
Big day for all the mech freaks out there. Honestly, it's getting great reviews. So I'm happy. I saw a little bit of gameplay on Twitch today, and I almost bought it. I was like, damn.
Yeah, if I wasn't, I'd consider it if I wasn't like ass deep in Baldur's Gate for the next 10,000 years.
Every time a new game comes out, I just want to like sink my teeth into it immediately. Like just because everything's been so good.
I know.
The prospect of like having a new shiny thing week over week is.
I know. It's like a little dopamine rush you can get every time there's a release. And that's like, you just buy it, you play it for a bit, you don't finish it, which, I used to get more bothered about that when I would just play something for a bit and not finish it. But as time goes on, I'm like, who makes the rules? I do, And
if
also, I don't finish it,
you'll probably go back, I'm sure, one day, maybe. When is it, can I buy it and play it like right now?
I think it's unlocking in like an hour or under an hour. Actually, it might be at 6 EST.
Pre-purchase. Wait. Should I buy the deluxe edition right now before we?
Yeah. Support those devs, dude. We love From Software here at the SRM Podcast.
Okay. Last question: PC or console for FromSoft Fires of Rubicon?
I would say console is always a safer bet with From Software, but they might have cleaned it up a bit with this because I assume it's probably like a different team at the company. Maybe, I don't know. I'm talking out my ass, but
no, I think that's a safe bet. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. All right, while we talk, I'm going to order it on PlayStation Digital
There you
Deluxe.
go. Yeah. All right. We're paying From Software's bills.
I don't know. I probably don't need to, but
do we need to do anything? Really?
Do I need to spend all my money constantly? No. Do I? Maybe.
I've wanted to get into mech stuff for so long. It's one of those things. It's like a genre to compare it to. It's like one of those things that like when you're in it, you're in that zone. Like there's nothing that compares. Like some people, people who play like flight simulators and stuff. It's like if you're a mech person, oh baby, it's
huge.
You're drooling over that next mech game. This looks like it might be. There was just a statement from the folks at From Software that I was reading about where they said that the big success of Elden Ring going mainstream is like 100% going to improve their sales for this and get it to a wider audience, which I agree with, because the more people know about the company, even if this is obviously quite different than the Souls games, it's like, hey, we know about From Software now. Here's a new game, check it out.
From Software is officially a household name.
Yeah, you heard it here first. We've officially declared it. They weren't before. Now they are.
Dude, as much as like the heads love FromSoft, before Elden Ring they were not. I would say maybe Dark Souls was. Yeah. But From Software was not.
Yeah.
I feel like now From Software, everybody knows. It's like it's getting to the point where it's like saying like Ubisoft or something, it's
Yeah. I mean, Elden Ring was such a big mainstream hit. It's kind of crazy. Like so many people were talking about it. It's like, there's if you're on, Twitter and social media and stuff, there've been games here and there where it's just for a period of time, it's like so much content being produced. Everybody's talking about it, even people who aren't like, huge niche gamers. Elden Ring was big for that. I remember the discussions were like constant. And it's funny, like Souls games hold on to their community so well, even if you're not actively playing it. Like I'm still subscribed to the Elden Ring subreddit. And they're like, it's constantly new content there. People are like posting screenshots and discussions and stuff. And it's amazing that the game is like 2 years old? No, a year and a half, whenever the hell that came out. And people are still making stuff, talking about it. And DLC, hopefully at some point, we'll see.
It sounds like it's definitely happening. Well, it was announced.
Yeah, no, I just mean, hopefully it will come sooner than later.
Okay, I ordered for Armored Core.
Nice.
I didn't do the deluxe though because it was one of those where it's like you get the soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I never make use of the art book. It's like, oh, here's an art book, and I'm like,
I'm like, cool, what is that? I'm like, what's art?
If I like, what is art? Honestly, these days, what is art? Who knows? I don't. None of us do.
But besides Armored Core, I feel like it's been a lot of bad news. Been a lot of bad news in the industry this week.
Yeah, it's been a weird one. I mean, there's been some announcements of some fun stuff, like Sony finally pumping out some info about their remote play hardware, which we can talk about, and some layoffs, some funky stuff going on.
Let's talk about the biggest layoff of all time.
Oh yeah, potentially a self layoff. Wait, that sounds bad.
I don't know, a self lay. I don't know though. Let's crack this baby open. All right, from Nintendo of Europe, even though it's probably on every Nintendo account.
Yeah, this is just the one I grabbed.
We have a message for fans of the Mushroom Kingdom. Please take a look. I love how they said that. Like this is a direct.
This was a eulogy too. I was like, oh my god! I thought it was like an in memoriam post.
When someone really important in like when Sakurai, like God forbid, knock on wood, like passes away, it's gonna be like, please take a look, and it's gonna be like an actual.
We have a message for fans of the Super Smash Bros.
In memoriam section of a direct. Sakurai memoriam direct. Oh my god, I have to stop. This is terrible.
Worked himself to death.
Actually.
Yeah.
Okay, but the real news, Charles Martinet has been the original voice of Mario in Nintendo games for a long time, as far back as Super Mario 64. Charles is now moving into the brand new role of Mario Ambassador. With this transition, he will be stepping back from recording character voices for our games, but he'll continue to travel the world, sharing the joy of Mario and interacting with you all. It has been an honor working with Charles to help bring Mario to life for so many years, and we want to thank and celebrate him. Please keep an eye out for a special video message from Shigeru Miyamoto and Charles himself. Did I say that right? I know I said Miyamoto right, but did I say this for Shigeru Miyamoto, and Charles himself, which we will post at a future date.
This is
big
crazy,
news.
man.
This is crazy.
We all knew this would happen eventually. I mean, I think he's like 60, 67 or something now. Like,
honestly, he's younger. He's younger than I thought he was. I thought he was like 78.
I thought he was in his 70s too. No offense, Charles, you look great. We just have no idea what we're talking about. We knew this would happen.
Charles is in this right
now. Number one fan. Wow. Charles. Oh, they don't know how old I am. That's my best Wario. How would Luigi say it? He'd be like, when the hell is Waluigi last said anything? I don't even remember what he sounds like.
Now I'm picturing like the event of Charles Martinet's unfortunate, inevitable death. Just, oh no. Like saying the funniest.
Oh no. Mamma mia. One last very sad Mamma Mia to send him off.
Mamma Mia.
I think he would appreciate these jokes. He has a good sense of humor about this stuff.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Picturing that being his last words.
We knew this was coming. It's just, it's a surprise. Like literally anyone who, knows anything about Mario in these games, it's like we've been hearing his voice. He is Mario, literally, since Mario was first given a voice. Like, he is, and he's not just Mario. He's been Wario, Luigi, like probably a million other random little, Goombas that go like, or something.
Right.
It's crazy. Like this, I wonder, like, if they already knew they kind of wanted to go in a different direction, just planning ahead for, him getting older, or if he might just want to retire, to be frank. Because, he's getting up there and just wants to chill out. And I'm sure, like, sessions and stuff like that, and constantly being on call for it. But I love he's moving into the new role of Mario ambassador, which is like, it's so funny because it's just, in this context it makes sense because like he already kind of does that anyway, going around being a good guy. But this is the kind of thing you would see with like some company that's trying to like push out an executive or something. It's like they'll be taking on the new role of like chief happiness officer or something like that.
This is basically like they're gonna be wheeling him out at like fan fests and
he's like going to PAX and stuff.
He'll be at like the opening of the Nintendo stores and the Universal Park, and he'll basically be traveling until he's dead. So congrats, Charles, on your promotion.
He will come to your house for a personalized visit.
I have bigger worries about this, and only from the standpoint. Like, I think the first thing I said was, like, oh my god, are they gonna get Chris Pratt to voice Mario in the games? Like as a legitimate fear, like legitimately scared.
That is a very legitimate thing because that movie made over $1 billion, and they've clearly signed up to have him be the movie Mario. And I wonder if they would consider it to be a worthwhile investment to kind of make that contract with him to be like, yeah, you're just Mario now.
Seriously,
in perpetuity.
And you see this with Marvel all the time. Like all the MCU changes, like those are very much reflected in the comics, right? So or you'll see like like the Marvels, the new Miss Marvel movie coming out. Captain Marvel movie. That's like the big new movie that's up for slated for release. So like obviously now the comics, they're getting the big Captain Marvel storylines. Like these things, they synergize these things.
Yeah.
These things are synergized intentionally.
Makes sense from a branding perspective.
Scared, dude. I'm scared. I'm nervous.
I went when this was announced, and it is official that Super Mario Wonder, the new 2D side-scrolling,
not Charles,
is not Charles. He is not involved in that project. And I went back and listened to the trailer, and it's interesting because like there's like a couple points in the trailer, he's just doing like the wahoo, like the normal stuff. That sounds fine. But there's at the very end of the trailer, he goes, wowie zowie.
Wowie zowie.
Thinking about it, I was like, who the hell is that? It's like,
I actually
zowie. That's what it sounds like.
Wowie zowie.
Yeah.
I actually didn't catch it. I think whoever was in that trailer did a really good job.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sure that they wouldn't, Nintendo wouldn't do it unless they were very confident in whoever they got to keep the spirit. I guess
the only thing I can think of is that if they're not trying to like synergize the movies with the games and all this stuff, is that apparently I read this in like a tweet, so this could be total bullshit.
Garbo, yeah.
But apparently, like the last 10, like, you know, they've been using the same Mario voice lines for like the last 10 years ish.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can think of is like Mario Wonder is kind of like the first, well, you know, since Odyssey.
A refresh, yeah.
Kind of a refresh. I think they've refreshed in the art style. Like, you know, it looks more modernized.
Yeah.
Maybe they just saw this as a good, Charles is getting older. Maybe they just saw this as a good point in time to bring someone new in, record new lines, have people get used to it in like a smaller 2D game before they bring out like whatever the next big 3D franchise tentpole is.
Yeah.
Next console launch. And actually, now that I think about it, that actually makes a lot of sense because they're gonna have the Switch 2 probably next year. That's what's being reported.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll launch with the Mario title, the next big tentpole Mario, and they probably didn't want that game to be the first one without Charles. So they probably thought this was just a good point in time to start getting people used to it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he voices like actively so many of the characters, and you know, Nintendo's going in this direction now of trying to kind of grow the Mario brand into, you know, movies and stuff like that. So I figure, you know, they might want to, as these characters now like come back into things with their own game, like maybe Wario gets a new game or something like that. You know, they might. It'd be funny if they got like another guy to do all the voices.
Just one guy, the same guy does every single voice.
Yeah, I feel like they probably. My guess would be that they'll be getting like new actors, dedicated actors one, and stuff. But
yeah,
we'll see, because it's like, you know, it's kind of unprecedented that this one person has had this like, you know, lifelong job here at this point. But I guess they didn't
has the capabilities to stretch his voice that much.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everything aside, Charles Martinet is a great voice actor. He's, you know, beyond just doing these, he's done a ton of other stuff too. Funny enough, a lot of people don't realize in Skyrim, he voices like the Elder Dragon that you have like a whole quest line with. Yeah, really? Parthenax. Yeah, when he's like Dragonborn, you know, he has like this whole thing. That's Charles Martinet, which is hilarious.
That is actually insane. That's really cool.
Yeah, he's a great voice actor.
No, he's incredible.
And he's a really sweet guy. Known sweetheart.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I think the Wonder trailer sounded really good. Personally, I thought it sounded great. So, I
can't wait to see this special video message. That too, like the fact that they're like putting out I wonder what that's going to be. You know, are they going to like show new actors, or is it just going to be Charles, you know, waving at the camera saying?
I hope they knock it out of the park and it's like very like heartwarming. I could see Nintendo making it like a quick, just like literally just like something that I would stitch together, like, or like a random YouTube compilation.
Yeah, it's in like filmed vertical. It's like a TikTok clip. But yeah, we wish Charles the best. I hope he has a long, happy retirement as the official Mario ambassador for the UN.
He's gonna be around for a while, but it's it'll be a very different thing. Yeah, I guess it's just a good point in time. They probably just thought it was a good point in time.
Yeah, it makes sense. You know, they're refreshing so many things, kind of doing some reboots here and there. So, all right, Nintendo, let's see it. Hope you found someone good.
Knock on wood, Nintendo doesn't fall into the Disney pumping as much shit out as possible, because they've been knocking it out of the park lately.
They have, yeah. I mean, Pikmin 4 is phenomenal. We've both been playing a bunch of that.
It's so good. It's so good. Like, it's just so enjoyable, so snappy, looks amazing. It's great. It's great.
Give me that Switch too.
I know, seriously, please. Oh my god. Here, I snuck this one in. I don't know if you even saw me sneak in there, but
let's see.
This is one that I feel like is kind of bigger news than being reported on, and I think you'd be pretty. Pretty passionate about this one.
Let's see.
Denuvo Security is now on Switch, including new tech to block PC Switch emulation. The company is the first security partner to be added to the Nintendo Developer Portal, reports Video Game Chronicles.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, because like it's not totally clear, you know, like was this Nintendo specifically saying like we want you for our games, or was this Denuvo actually making the pitch to try and, you know, sell their software to third-party developers the way that they do traditionally, like, oh, any Ubisoft games on Switch will have Denuvo or something like that. But it's so weird to me. Like Denuvo, I think it sucks, but For PC, okay, it makes sense to have like a more aggressive DRM.
I've never
like,
heard of Denuvo.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
No.
It's well, it's, everybody has an opinion on it, but it is not well regarded in the gaming industry, or in the PC gaming area specifically, because like there have been moments in the past where people have like performance issues in games have been caused by Denuvo DRM, because it's like an always online thing. It like pings servers periodically, can sometimes spike CPU usage, things like that. And the fact that just bundling something that like, is not doesn't enhance the experience. It's one of those things where like it fundamentally it doesn't improve the experience for the paying customer. It only sometimes makes it worse. And it makes it hard to, preserve games, which I'm passionate about, because it's like people have to go in and, crack the Denuvo to be able to even play something offline. And that's, always online single player games, that kind of thing. It's a frustrating one, because it's just like, I get it. Obviously it's a good business model for them. And piracy is a problem for developers, but it's a very aggressive solution. It's like, it runs in the background, all that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this a lot. Like we talked about Nintendo's efforts to curtail PC emulation. Mm-hmm. They think it's like the worst thing ever happening to their company.
Yeah.
They think everyone just wants to fucking get everything for free from Nintendo, and I don't know. It's for some reason they think it's the worst thing ever.
This is so odd to me too, because it's like, again, DRM like this to me makes sense. I don't agree with it, but it makes sense on PC, where it's easier to kind of have access to your files. You basically have like an exe, essentially, that you're like, doing various things with. Whereas for this, it's like putting it on a console seems so odd to me. It's like the hardware is the hardware,
yeah.
Doesn't Nintendo have their own?
And so this is in the software, right? So I know there's a lot of, like, we've talked about how Generation 1 Switches have the hardware defect that allows you to like way more easily just kind of hack into your Switch and use it for emulation. Mm-hmm. Does this like counteract that? So that's the thing I struggled to find information on, is like what level Denuvo is going to be able to block PC emulation on the console, and I couldn't really find out if there was anything that like about those Generation 1 Switches, if it's going to affect those from, because that's obviously a hardware defect, if that's kind of making up for the hardware defect to cover their tracks on the software side. So I'm not entirely too sure how this like impacts specific models of the Switch, or if it will impact different people from emulating, but I think it just kind of speaks to Nintendo's die-hard
stance on this
on just killing PC emulation anywhere possible.
Yeah, I guess we don't really know anything yet officially. This is obviously just starting now. I think this is less for the current Switch and more for whatever they're doing with the Switch 2. I think they're probably going to try and
a good call.
Launch with like much stricter kind of stuff like this. The main issue is a lot of games on PC that have Denuvo later on wind up actually like putting in a patch to remove it, because like, their license expired or something like that. And so sometimes they, don't remove it, or things get bugged that way too. So it's like, it's just interesting to have like a hardware, something like a Nintendo console potentially having like always online DRM built into their games is just, yikes.
And I do remember in this article it's saying, and their statement is saying, that it's essentially being available to developers in their Nintendo developer portal. So it does sound like it'll be game specific.
Yeah.
Or it'll be somehow integrated to work with whatever native APIs exist on the Switch.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm assuming if it's a middleware, it'll have to be ingrained into the Switch's OS, and then the developers can choose to interact with that middleware as those APIs are called, if I'm had to guess correctly. But like we said, we'll see. It seems like it'll be game by game cases for block emulation. But it's just annoying. Nintendo, you're annoying, and you're making good games.
Yeah, you make great games, but man, are you annoying, especially when it comes to this stuff.
Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, hold on. I have the wrong link here.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, Google, for doing that. Okay.
Google, we
Here
love
we
you.
go.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, this is a big one too. There's just so much shit happening this week.
Seriously.
But BioWare, an update on the state of BioWare. BioWare has laid off 50 employees as they quote unquote rethinking how we approach development. This is weird. And I know you were looking more into this earlier. Do you want to talk a bit on this?
Yeah, I mean, people who, follow the industry, BioWare, or people who don't, BioWare used to be one of the greatest, RPG studios. They created the Baldur's Gate game series originally.
1 and 2. Yep.
1 and 2.
Which is timely now that Baldur's Gate 3 has become the biggest title of the year.
Yeah, Dragon Age, Mass Effect. And in the last 10 years, we've seen a huge fall from grace for them with just kind of flop after flop, a switch to making multiplayer service kind of stuff, and they're really just kind of a shell of who they were originally, at least as far as writers and the kind of projects that they were making. And this is unfortunate, but I wasn't too surprised when I read this, just because it's knowing the struggles they've had with this sort of thing. Basically, I read through this. It's a very nice, flowery, oh, we're so sorry to have to do this kind of, your classic layoff statement. And what's interesting is they're saying we need to we're restructuring for faster, more agile development and a different market, this kind of thing. But the people who, many of the people who were laid off were veterans of the company, writers, narrative designers, very artistic roles, which is if you're trying to those aren't the people that I think you would cut. You would look for redundancy or something like that. So It's, to me, that comes off as more of an indirect way of kind of saying we're maybe going to care even less about story and narrative than we did before, and focus more on I don't know, multiplayer stuff, or who knows. They say in here that they're still committed to single player experiences, and they're developing one right now, but I don't know, man.
Which is Mass Effect 4, right?
Yeah, Mass Effect 4 and Dragon Age 4 as well, which is the weird one, because one of the employees who was laid off was a woman who's been there for 20 years as a writer and a narrative designer, and she's, I think, Mary
love
Kirby.
Dragon Age.
Yeah, and she wrote some of the best stories, some of the best characters, and she was completely blindsided by this. So it's odd to me that
insane.
I guess maybe it was the kind of thing where they're all right, we got their work done, so now we're cutting costs by hiring, by laying off the most.
Right. We have your rating for Dragon Age 4, so now we'll just submit it to the AI. We'll submit it to the AI
to generate dialogue and stuff. It doesn't.
Here's
bode
a quote from them. This is an article from VentureBeat, but the headline from VentureBeat is EA's BioWare will lay off 50 and cut ties with unionized Keywords playtesting group. So that's another thing too, and we're just seeing more and more companies work with really poor companies who have bad track records porting games over to PC or remastering games. Look at Rockstar's GTA 2, 3, and 4 remasters. Was it 2, 3, and 4, or was 3? It was 3, 4, and
3 and Vice City. Oh, and San Andreas. All three of those.
Yes. There you go. Yeah. Yes, 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. But now you have EA, they're cutting ties with Keywords, which is a big game service firm that provides playtesting services. They're doing this because Keywords voted to unionize. They're a small group of contractors who had voted to unionize. EA said it was unable to create a new contract, and so will let the current one expire on September 27th. It's not clear what will happen to those contractors without the EA contract, but it's fair to guess that some jobs will likely be lost. Yes, heads up, when you are a agency that does client-based work, when you lose those big accounts, most of the time the people who are working on those accounts or people who work at the company are displaced because of the equivalency of the lost business. So yes, I'm sure people will lose their jobs in that sense too. And I haven't looked at the contract, but I can guarantee you that as big as EA is, it's probably not difficult for them to pay for decent play testing.
Yeah, and that's often the most overlooked part these days, or where costs are cut, and we see the result in buggy ass software that comes out from big companies.
Right. More
Because
and more.
QA is just they realize they can get away with not paying for it. So especially not paying for union labor, because they'll avoid that like the plague.
Yeah. Hopefully there's a change in the air. Hopefully people start to wise up a little bit because it's getting kind of out of control.
Yeah, I mean this is a shame, for especially in the shadow of Baldur's Gate 3 being such a surprise hit, and like
Right.
really a phenomenal role playing game, and among so many other things, and like they are basically carrying this torch that BioWare originally created. And we're seeing BioWare with games stuck in development hell, these layoffs, this weird corporate speak about like, oh, we're shifting our development and being more agile, and all these buzzwords and stuff. And it's just like, man,
Yeah.
they're it's just not the same company fundamentally.
Right.
They're just an extension.
We don't
of
want to
EA.
pay our veterans because they make too much money.
Yeah,
Is basically
exactly.
what their jargon equates to.
Yeah.
I forgot about this too. The layoff also comes about 3 months after EA moved production of its massive multiplayer online game Star Wars: The Old Republic to a third-party publisher, Broadsword, in Reston, Virginia. The game debuted way back in 2011 and has entered maintenance mode. That's very sad. People love that game. I forgot about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like they are. I'm sure this was in part due to the upcoming layoffs. They wanted to make sure the work was uninterrupted. But
I mean, we're apparently Dragon Age 4 is like pretty far along in development, but they also just said that Mass Effect 4, despite we saw a teaser for that, like 3 years ago now or something, is still in pre-production. So
insane.
This kind of thing leads me to believe that like Mass Effect 4 may never actually come out, and Dragon Age 4, whatever format it's in, may just wind up getting wrapped up and put out the door before they literally either maybe not shutter BioWare because it's a valuable brand, but just completely shift them to doing
other things,
radically different things than what
I wonder if EA would just give Mass Effect to somebody or sell it off
just as a gift.
Give it a Larian, dude. Fuck it. We'll go.
Yeah, so what's more frustrating to me is Dragon Age. Like Dragon Age Origins was the first game in the Dragon Age series, and it's really similar to Baldur's Gate 3 in a lot of ways. Like some people think that it's actually Baldur's Gate 3 is closer to Dragon Age Origins than the original Baldur's Gate games. And
wow.
It's like kind of a spiritual successor to that in a lot of ways. It's a really phenomenal game. And to just see like that franchise has great world building, great stories, has like kind of been all over the place, and that's waving in the wind now. It's like, please give these IPs to
so
someone
people who care,
respects them. Yeah, people who care.
Yeah, exactly, respects them. That's the biggest thing. It'll be sad to see what happens. I mean, it's scary. EA is just horrendous with this stuff. They don't care. EA only cares and this is what we talk about. We talk about the publisher level is where you should direct most of your anger to, because the publisher level, they don't care about the art. They completely only care about the dollars. These are the ones who are most of the time the publicly traded portion of the development process. They literally have a fiduciary responsibility to make money for their shareholders and investors. Mm-hmm. So they will always prioritize money and cost saving over creativity and the actual media that's being produced. So that's exactly what you're seeing here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you put it very well. That's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And a studio like this that made big, ambitious, single player RPGs, which have gone up and down in popularity, they for whatever reason clearly see less profit to be made there right now, so they're shifting it around. They're laying people off, and we'll see what happens, man. I don't have a lot of faith in Mass Effect 4 coming out. I think we'll get Dragon Age 4. I don't know what kind of shape it'll be in, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see like what Mass Effect 4 is too, because I know Andromeda jumped wasn't it like hundreds of years later?
Yeah, it was an odd decision on their part. It's like in the same universe, like the same canon, but at the without huge spoilers in case you ever play it, like basically at one point in the story of the Mass Effect games, the original ones, there are like arcs that are sent off to try and like survive a very bad thing that's happening.
Oh, and this follows those arcs.
Yeah, Andromeda is like, oh, here's what happens to them when they got to Andromeda, which is the galaxy that's closest to the Milky Way.
Okay, they send off arcs as like the human race survival.
Yeah, it was a very odd decision because like the trilogy is so much about the Milky Way galaxy and like all the species and peoples and cultures that we learned about there. And it felt like that kind of like tossed a lot of world building just out the window because it's like, now you're in a different galaxy. With no one.
I wonder what 4 would be, because I know 3 was pretty definitive ending, but
it's the teaser they showed had one of the main characters from the original trilogy, like looking for traces of like, something from the original series. So it looks like it's going to be a direct sequel, but we'll see. We'll see now. I'm curious. I mean, I love Mass Effect. I was very hyped for that.
Matrix Sentinels are back. Everybody careful.
Yeah. Sad to see, but it remains to be seen kind of what impact this will really have on it. I feel like it's not going to be like the last unfortunate news that we hear out of BioWare. I think it's about to start.
Yeah, I know. Let's see what happens. Hopefully at least you get your Dragon Age. But from one Baldur's Gate developer to another, we have actually a Dragon Age writer. Dragon Age writer defends Baldur's Gate 3's least favorite companion. Fandom has always treated male characters more forgiveness. Yeah, I actually saw this talk about this happening on Twitter a little bit. So for people who are listening, the least favorite companion in Baldur's Gate 3 is Lae'zel, who is a Githyanki warrior fighter class companion. She is incredibly snarky. Some would describe her as a tough bitch, stone cold ass, tough motherfucker.
Yeah,
I love her. I've always loved her from the jump. I've loved how tough she was, how snarky she was, how confident she was in her abilities and her history and her past. The pride of what she's been able to build from her childhood and carry that on her shoulders has always been so cool. And then how she's able to kind of shoot people down with that pride is always funny. Yeah. And I do agree that I think a lot of characters that we get like that who are male in media are often looked at as like, dude, he's so cool. Oh my God, he's sick, bro. He's like so edgy. He's so cool. And now that we have like a female character who's like that, I've heard so many people go, oh my God, shut up. Oh, shut the fuck up, Lae'zel. It's like I hate that. I don't know. And I do agree with this sentiment a lot.
Yeah, I do too. Now the more I've played the game, especially early on, I fell into that camp as well. I didn't hate her, but I was like, she was giving like so much attitude to the player, and like really just didn't have any patience for like the things that you were saying to her. Yeah, quiet, telling you to shush and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know. She's kind of mean. Like I'll take one of the other like goofier characters, and as time went on, and like I just talked to her a bit more in the camp, and like took her out and like actually did a quest with her, I realized like, okay, like I was quick to jump in that way, in a way that if like they said, if it had been a male character, like Astarion is also a nasty piece of work, but he's like fun and like fabulous and like all that kind of thing. And it's like interesting that your gut is to kind of be like, oh, I'll trust that like the mean male character will probably have like a redemption arc or something like that. Whereas like a lot of players just kind of shut down when a female character acts that way, which is, I think, very true and very valid. And as I've used her in combat more and gone through some of her story arc stuff, like you can see that the growth and the softening and everything. And I might actually bring her with me for the rest of the game. I'm a big fan for her.
I think I am.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have Karlach with me a lot more, than Lae'zel, and not even for like story reasons. I've honestly been going with whoever I think is best in combat for me.
Yeah, the strongest.
And I thought Karlach was going to be way better. And then once you get Lae'zel up to a certain point, she gets like
Yeah, fighters.
She can get like 4, 5, 6 swings in a turn.
Action surge and those superiority dice. It's just bam, 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 just back to back.
Yeah, and she gets so strong. She can like 2-shot people on one turn. But yeah, outside of that, I just always found her character very strong and very opinionated, because she comes from a race of war. She's basically like this world's Spartan, right? She's like a very disciplined,
like a warrior, alien, militaristic.
From childhood, she's been raised to be a warrior for her clan.
Yeah,
and I just thought from the beginning, like, she was a very interesting character. I didn't even have a problem with it. Like, I was just like, this is a warrior. This is just a strong-headed warrior woman. And she doesn't play around. She doesn't. There's no nonsense with her. And yeah, I think, okay, pretend she's King Leonidas. Like,
yeah. It's interesting how people gravitate to the different companions in this. I think it's an indication that they're all, pretty unique and interesting in their own ways. Like, some people love Shadowheart and want to marry her. Some people love Gale, and just it's so funny. Like, some people are like, "Oh, Gale's like so annoying and like petulant and this and that." And I'm like, I love that. I think he's hilarious. He's like a spoiled wizard guy, Dude, he's got his own kind of backstory. People love
Shadowheart because she is the unsure of herself, I can fix her shy girl.
Yeah, the goth girl. 100%.
I'm actually mad Larian gave that to the gamers, because they you know who everybody's romancing. Like, they are. We talk about fantasy game. This is truly a gamer's fantasy. I can fix her.
Yeah, she is very popular among the player base for that reason, among others. And she's also a great character too. But it's a funny comparison too to Lae'zel. Is like, neither of them start off liking the player. Like, right. Shadowheart is also kind of mean to you, and like, has her own motivations, and doesn't answer your questions and tells you to shut up. But people are more forgiving of that with her. They're like, oh, she just needs to like, warm up, and I have to talk to her more. Whereas like with Lae'zel, who's like a far more like, I don't know, like strong, edgy kind of character, but has like a different design, they're less forgiving of that. It's just interesting. People's kind of superficial perspectives on it.
Yeah, no, I like what you bring up. Like, it's funny to see how people relate to the different characters, like different characters for different reasons. And if you don't like Lae'zel, right, as a character, that's totally fine. Like, that your opinion your opinion is perfectly valid in not liking XYZ character. But I think that can totally be separate from the discussion of like, more people would like her simply if she was a dude warrior.
Yeah. And it's just,
I think that's essentially a truth. And you have someone from Dragon Age, David Geider, who's literally saying, can confirm the Dragon Age fandom consistently gave way more latitude and forgiveness to male characters as opposed to female characters in every game. It is very much a thing. You'll have gamers die on the hill that this isn't true, but it is. It 100% is. There's a reason 100%. Why Shadowheart, the I can fix her girl, is going to be the number one most romance companion, and Lae'zel is going to be probably like a bottom tier. Yeah, and I did just dump her in the game.
Aw, bummer.
It was getting too serious.
Yeah, that's understandable. You have to, you got to save the world, man. Got to get that parasite out.
And her like the climax romance scene with her is like beautiful too. I watched it and then I reloaded and went back, but I actually like felt bad ending it after that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I decided not to have any kind of romance stuff my first time through the game, because I was like, I don't want to complicate things, man. Like, I knew there might be tough conversations.
You should look up the Lae'zel like final romance scene. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I bet, like, because she's such a complex character, and seeing her kind of open up in that way, I'm sure is very impactful.
Yeah.
It's a good game. Everybody should play it.
Yeah, it's so cool. Okay, let's move on to this one over here. I also saw this tweet. I'm surprised you pulled this. It's so funny. I saw this tweet just like casually in my timeline earlier today, and I was like, wait, what? I had to like read it like 4 times. Sven Vink at Where on Twitter, who is this guy, like the head of Larian?
Yeah, Sven Vinka, I believe is how it's pronounced. It's
Sven Vinka.
I believe he's the top head honcho at Larian.
So he tweeted today. He said, "Super happy to confirm that after meeting at Xbox P3, which is Phil Spencer, yesterday, we found a solution that allows us to bring Baldur's Gate 3 to Xbox players this year. Still, something we've been working towards for quite some time. So yeah, this is kind of nuts. This is kind of big news for Xbox exclusive console owners and for Larian and for Microsoft, because one of the big things about this generation is that Xbox introduced the Series X and the Series S, but one of the big aspects of that is that Microsoft's had this very strict requirement that if you want to launch a game onto Xbox Series X, it also has to launch with the equivalent version onto Series S. And the big thing about Baldur's Gate is that Larian could not get split screen co-op couch play to work for the Series S, presumably because it has lower
hardware limitations, probably RAM, video, GPU strength.
So now it's coming out that after the meeting that Larian had with King Phil, that Phil is essentially allowing the game to be pushed to the Series X, fully the same as the PS5 and the PC version. But on the Series S, they're actually cutting out the split screen co-op because the engineers couldn't get it to work. I even saw on Twitter that Microsoft's engineers was even potentially maybe working with Larian to try and get it to work. And
I wouldn't be surprised if
they couldn't get it to work.
They sent like a crack team of a couple of folks in to try and take a look at it, and they were like, yeah, that ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
At least not within a reasonable time frame.
So yeah, this is big. I think this says a lot. This says a lot. One, I think it says a lot about how good the game is and how successful it is. This is huge for Larian that they're going to get a whole new slate of sales. They're going to get 100%. So many more sales from this. It's Microsoft will also get part of those sales as well. Phil clearly did not want to miss on this title. That's a huge thing, especially in the apparently. Good games don't sell consoles though, so I don't know. Maybe it's fruitless. But
classic Phil.
The biggest thing to me is that this does say something about the Series S and its inclusion in this generation. Yep. And the fact that there's a compromise on that now, will it, like you said this offline, will it set a precedent for more games going forward?
Yeah.
And I mean, Baldurs is probably a special case, but I mean, it's, the window's been cracked now.
That's what I wonder is it does set a precedent whether they wanted to or not. I'm sure they've considered all the possibilities of this. This is, I believe, the first time that a game has now, it will be coming out on these two platforms that will not be have feature parity, because the Series S version of stuff always runs at, a lower resolution, sometimes lower frame rate, all that kind of thing. But they consider those to be, compromises from a performance aspect, which is different than the gameplay. So they've always demanded that every feature must be the same. I think this is the first time we're seeing that not happen. And again, it's obviously this is a special case, but I can't imagine that other developers won't try to take advantage of this kind of thing.
100%.
What if, Rockstar says, well, we really just can't get GTA Online working on the Series S. That's far-fetched, but what if they say something like that? What are they going to do? Not tell them no, they can't put GTA 6 on the Xbox? Well, we might see this more on a case-by-case basis, not skipping the Series S completely, but, certain features, because as this console generation goes on, we're going to see, hopefully, people do not just with graphics, but, more complex things that take advantage of the CPU, AI, those kinds of things. And all that is really hard to get working when there's two very different SKUs that have very different processing power. And it might be, I would say, a floodgate, but I think, like you said, this cracked the window to potentially more stuff like this, where it's you're not necessarily a compromised version, but you might get the diet version, of a game on Series S, which does not surprise me at all. We talk about this a lot just in our personal conversations about the industry. I get why Microsoft put the Series S out. It was a smart business decision, but man, what an odd thing to have, where you have a current gen console released at the same time that is maybe 3/4 at the most of the processing power, possibly less depending on certain things. It's like, it's really an albatross around a lot of developers, and even around Microsoft themselves. They've sold more Series S's than Series X's, so they can't.
Yeah, and that makes total sense.
For it. Like, they have to keep making sure that games come out on both. Yeah. It's interesting.
I really hope they don't try and do something similar in the next generation. I hope that if Microsoft wants to push a access to Game Pass in the easiest form possible, I really want them to just push out some kind of machine or device that is very cloud focused and can just access the Game Pass library through the cloud. Hopefully, I don't think all the Game Pass libraries are on the cloud, all the Game Pass libraries on the cloud, but I think releasing hardware that's caught in between old generation and new generation, but it's like just good enough for most of it. Yeah. You're going to see more and more of these kind of problems. And we're seeing plenty of games struggle on the X and the Series 5 and the PS5 as is. Yeah. It's we can't have limitations that bring it down further. And when you put something in the air like this, there's a lot of parents out there, and I understand that there's the flip side of this too, is that there's a lot more parents out there who can afford to buy consoles for their kids now. Mm-hmm. But that $150, $200 difference, right? Like you said, Xbox, they released this thing. They can't stop making games for it now. They have to make sure these things come out. But there are going to be a lot of situations now where these kids, there's going to be children or teenagers who will want to play Baldur's Gate with their brother or whatever, and they're going to be surprised when there's no split screen co-op.
Yeah, it's like, not a huge feature for I would say probably the majority of people, but like, it's a feature. There's a lot of people who look forward to that kind of thing, if they're with their partners or their siblings or whoever.
I think if we are releasing consoles generation to generation, we just have to like release. Everything has to be on the same standard, because it's going to cause confusion, edge cases. That's like one of the biggest points of a console, is you reduce the amount of edge cases and unexpected behaviors that will come from the software. 100%. That's like the biggest pro. That's why like everybody loves being an iPhone Apple sheep, because we don't have to worry about all of the all
the updates come, everything runs the same as everybody else's. It's like there's that guarantee.
Exactly. That you don't have to get your micro USB to charge your Android, right?
Yeah.
But it's so I think the more close the system, the better. I think the more if we keep doing this kind of thing, we're going to see more and more experiences that are differentiating from each other in a console sphere, which is weird to me.
Yeah.
So I kind of hope that they don't do this again, but we'll see. I'm sure they will.
Yeah. And it's interesting that, it is coming this year, so they say, which is, I mean, there was a lot of like miscommunication about this too. As far as I know, like I read some stuff about it. Like they said that they were planning on getting it out this year, that they were trying, and that was always their goal. There was just, things in the way. So basically it seems like, they had some build of the game pretty ready to go on both platforms, but they just, we're stuck in this kind of like a negotiation with Microsoft about what they could and couldn't do. And clearly something kind of greased the wheels. I don't know if it was the millions of sales, or if it was just, good constructive conversations, but something kind of got them the green light finally. And I mean, it's great for players overall. It's a great game. More people being able to play 100%. It is awesome. It's just overall, what it means in the bigger picture. I feel like this is not the last time we're going to see something like this with these two consoles,
especially as we get deeper into the generation. But the biggest takeaway from me here, I am so happy that Larian is going to get more sales for this game. I want Larian to get as much money as possible from this game, because I want to see what else they can do.
Yeah, and I think the precedent in the industry is so important now too. Of we talked about before, just a great ambitious game that isn't treating its players like customers. It's treating them like players, like friends, like people who want to share a story together. I think that the better that does, hopefully the ripple effect will be positive.
Yeah,
and then Bioware.
I want the Karlach DLC skins though.
Yeah, give me the Karlach plushie. Give me all the merchandise.
Speaking
Give
of
me
plushie, I
everything.
want a Torgo plushie like ASAP. I want a
Oh,
Torgo
yeah.
plushie, a Clive statue, a Dion statue. I'm gonna fill up a whole shelf with FF16 stuff.
Just Final Fantasy 16 stuff.
Yes. Okay. Another big piece of news in this week that's good or bad, depending on how you look at it. Mostly bad for me. Is Activision Blizzard games are coming to Ubisoft Plus. This is a press release from Ubisoft. Yes, you read that headline right. Ubisoft today announced the signing of an agreement which will give Ubisoft cloud streaming rights to games like Call of Duty and more, coming into effect upon the completion of Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, which is the key sentence of this press release here. What are your thoughts on this press release?
It's interesting. I mean, this is great for Ubisoft. That's for damn sure. This is a big win for them. People, I didn't even know the subscription service existed, to be honest.
Yeah.
Until this news broke, and I was like, oh, that's funny. It's great for them. You know, they get a big slice of the pie there for, you know, some very big brands. It's just so interesting that like the cloud streaming stuff has been such a big sticking point for this acquisition, considering it feels like there's that kind of mismatch between like, you know, the business people and like the actual consumers. Because like some people definitely take advantage of cloud gaming, don't get me wrong, but it's not nearly as popular yet as so many people in the executive rooms would have you think. So this kind of being like the big deal of like, oh, they're going to get the streaming rights for the games and stuff it's one of these forward thinking things that, you know, caused the CMA to hold back the acquisition and all that kind of thing. It's just so funny to me that like, you know, I think if you asked your average like hardcore gamer what they think about cloud gaming, they would probably be like, it sucks and I never want to do it. But this, you know, they're thinking about the mainstream, you know, what will be big 10 years from now. And if this is, you know, a big long term, I wonder if this is, you know, like, is actually say launching the 15 years.
Yeah, it does say something about that. It says the agreement includes the complete slate of current Activision Blizzard games as well as their new titles launching in the 15 years after the closing of Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. 15 years is a lot. 15
that's
years,
a long time.
That's
man.
a long
like,
time. So
15 years ago, we
2039 is when when Activision Blizzard will get the rights back for their games. It's a long time, but it's like it's kind of also not, because like technology wise, like cloud gaming will be who even knows how powerful or strong it'll be. Like it could take 12 years for it to really even get into place.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I didn't actually know there was a time gate on it, so it's interesting that they'll get the 15 years. I don't know if the games go back to Activision or just new ones that come out after that go back to Activision, Blizzard, Microsoft. But it is interesting. I also saw, I think it was Tom Warren on Twitter was saying that you don't have to subscribe to Ubisoft to play the cloud games. So I'm not sure. There's a lot of details around this, but the big headline here is that, you know, they are selling the cloud gaming rights to Ubisoft, and the intention is clear. You mentioned it. They're doing it in a bid for the UK's approval, the CMA's approval. This was the big reason why they got denied. So this is from The Verge. Microsoft is restructuring its proposed Activision Blizzard deal to transfer cloud gaming rights for current and new Activision Blizzard games to Ubisoft. The transfer of rights is designed to appease regulators in the UK that are concerned about the impact of Microsoft's proposed $68.7 billion deal that'll have on the cloud gaming competition. The restricted deal has triggered a new regulatory investigation in the UK that could last until October 18th. So we'll see. I think this is like a massive move for Microsoft, something I didn't actually even think they would do.
Yeah, I did not see this coming.
Yeah. So apparently it's also going to apply in the US. It's like everywhere outside of the EU. And I think that's intentional I think they don't even want the FTC to even have a reason to come back and try again with a trial.
To try and use the precedent or something like that.
Yeah. So this seems like they altered. This seems like they altered.
That's a good way of putting it. It's wild how fast this feels like it happened after all of the stuff with the acquisition got blocked. And it's like, did they, you know, call up Yves Guillemot at Ubisoft and be like, get over here, you know, and like have like some quick deals, or like had this already been in talks? Cause like, this is a big ass thing to do within like, a month, a deal like this, but they might have really considered this as like a Hail Mary. They might have had it in their back pocket, ready to go, like a couple of the big companies with similar infrastructure that they could, pass this off to.
And supposedly we're going to hear from the CMA within like a week. So we'll see. I would expect it to go through. Yeah, I would expect it to go through. But I did see that the EU might want to reinvestigate the deal now with this happening. So it's hilarious that I feel funny. Like it's never ending. The deal's been stretched out to October 18th for them to complete it. So who knows when this will end?
We're going to be talking about this like a year from now. Yeah, for months. It's crazy.
Do you have time to go over our very last article here?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's bang it out. Okay, so lastly, and I'm feeling pretty good about this one. We'll see. I want to see a little bit more, but PlayStation's first remote play dedicated device, the PlayStation Portal remote player, to launch later this year at, for all of you at home listening, $199.99.
That's a killer price.
That's a great price.
They like that $200.
That is a great price. I remember when this launched, when we were talking about this, I said for me to rip it on this, to just buy it without question, it would have to be $200 or less. I don't think it really could have been more expensive than this, like past $225, $250s, like really pushing it, because this is a remote play, kind of like how you'd access it on your phone. I'm assuming the experience is going to be even smoother than that from the way they're marketing it. It comes with some things like the PS Link, which is a new proprietary audio, which I kind of hate.
Indeed.
I don't know why you can't just use Bluetooth, because you want people to buy your headphones.
Yeah, you want that licensing fee.
Yeah. On top of that, there's no PS5 cloud gaming, which is another big con. But I think I read and have heard that it's just not at launch. I would be surprised if it doesn't get that, because it's something that exists, and it's something that our PlayStations can already do. Like, essentially, when you think about this, like our PlayStation 5s are the servers, right? Like when we connect to remote play, we're connecting to our PlayStation 5 as the server to remote play off of. The cloud service is just a dedicated server. So I can't see why this device wouldn't be able to connect to a different server.
This is a new pillar for their hardware and for their software, and I would be shocked if they didn't add more stuff to it over time. We've never seen anything like this before. It's really interesting. Sony has had dedicated handheld devices before. I think it's hilarious that it's PlayStation Portal, which is PSP, which is the same as their,
that's got to be intentional.
Yeah, absolutely. They're incredibly successful because, they want those SEO optimization. You look for PSP, it comes up. All that. It's for the fans too. Like it's memorable.
That's smart.
But
it has a 3.5 millimeter audio jack, which is like the last thing I would have expected.
That's funny, but no Bluetooth.
No Bluetooth.
Yeah, we have never seen within the console space like a dedicated branded, like this is part of the PlayStation brand, like hardware like this that is dedicated just for streaming. And this is really a whole new kind of sphere of not reaching new players, because you have to stream it from your own PlayStation, but just changing the way people approach games on PlayStation, and bringing it to other parts of your home, bringing it outside the house if you can do it over Wi-Fi, all that kind of thing. And as time has gone on, like I've played remote play from my PS5 on my Steam Deck here and there, and I feel like it has gotten better over time. I think they've gotten just the technology for streaming it, encoding it, decoding it. Like I wouldn't have been a believer in this before, but again, for $200 to have like something that has all of the features of the DualSense controller from the PlayStation, looks like a big bright screen, like being able to play that in bed, like that's huge. It can't be understated how nice it is to be able to play a game that you normally are stuck on the TV with, just anywhere you want,
on the couch, outside, on the on the front porch, in the back, in bed. And I am actually traveling the day Spider-Man 2 comes out. So if this is out, I would love to give it a rip and see how it goes.
First-hand
on hotel
impressions.
Wi-Fi. Yeah. Because I did some remote play from my Steam Deck on remote Wi-Fi or hotel Wi-Fi and for Diablo, and it was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
it was like
I feel
pretty
like
seamless.
The technology for just interactive stream of video has gotten a lot better over the years.
Yeah.
Even since like the PlayStation 4, when they first, remote play was a feature. And I remember trying to use it back then, and I was like, this really sucks. But it really sucked.
I read that I need to look it up again, but I read that they're doing a bunch of network improvements. Like it's kind of like how Nintendo had a big formal launch of like a new networking tech.
Yeah.
I think PlayStation is doing the same thing. I have to look it up again. That could be fake, but I swear I read that. So I would hopefully with that and this, and if they make this a seamless experience, I'm very, very interested. This article says that the Pulse Elite headset is priced at $150, and the Pulse Explorer earbuds cost $200. That's wild. But I don't know. We'll see. Because if I get anything that's not 3.5 millimeters, it would be the earbuds. But I don't want more earbuds, man. I have so many things.
Yeah. I said it before when this was first, kind of announced that they were working on it, and we got those first images. Like, as weird and wacky and goofy as it is, like I love this kind of thing. I love hardware. I love seeing companies.
It's insane.
Yeah, I love seeing companies just be ambitious with stuff like this. Like, I don't know if anybody asked for this, but they clearly had an idea, and they put the work in on the software and the back end to create something like this. And I think
it's so funny to think of the like the R&D meeting where they just like took just imagine a dude with an axe just chopped the DualSense in half and just like
behold, they put it around an iPad,
taped it around an iPad. Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah,
Johnson, you're a genius.
Yeah, like more pillars of hardware within gaming systems is really neat. We used to see this more often with like back in the early PlayStation, like N64 days and stuff. There's more branded hardware and accessories. Like N64 had weird ass accessories. Sometimes on like a bespoke
Rumble
game
Pack,
basis. Rumble Pack, the microphone for Hey You Pikachu. Like, I love this stuff. It's so goofy.
It's great.
So to see them putting this out there, and
bongos.
The donkey bongos, all that kind of thing. Like I enjoy accessories and interacting with games in different ways. So if they really support this, and the smart thing here too is like, if you look at the Vita, the PlayStation Vita, that is a very unfortunate record of them putting out really solid handheld hardware and then just kind of dropping first party support for it. Rest in peace. Vita is a great system.
Yeah. I never had one.
This thing you don't have to worry about because this just streams from their servers, or well, not yet, but maybe, or from your PlayStation. It's like all the console games right to it. So
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see it. I will probably get it unless the reviews are like bad.
Yeah. They're like, this thing feels like crap. It looks like crap.
Looks like crap, runs like crap, which is entirely possible. I'll probably pre-order it and then wait because I'm sure reviews will be out like the day that the pre-order comes in. And if it sucks, I'll probably just send it back. If not, I'll probably hold on to it. Strong chance I hold on to it, but
yeah. I could see myself playing, I played a lot of my Final Fantasy 16 on my Steam Deck in bed. I played honestly a lot of hours of it that way. Like I could see myself playing. Shout out to Dion. Like, I could play a lot of stuff primarily this way if I want to just chill somewhere else in the house. It's a smart move in an ambitious and kind of untested area, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, 100%. But all right, that's enough from us for this week. A lot happened this week. That was a lot. That was nuts.
Yeah, it was a surprising amount when I was pulling things up, and I was like, wow. Because
Nintendo's at it again.
Nintendo, Charles Martinet, and Denuvo in the same week. Oh,
crazy! Too much
for my heart to stand, man.
For real.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. Playing a lot more Baldur's Gate. Probably going to talk about that.
I'm sure there'll be Act 3 next week. We'll see.
Ooh.
Baldur's Gate. I really want to do. I think once you finish Pikmin and Baldur's, we should do it. Let's do a roundup episode of our games here. Maybe we can just skip the news and just like go
talk
over
about the things we played and think about them. Yeah,
tier
that's
ranking.
a great idea.
Yeah,
let's do it.
But thank you everybody for listening. You can find us on any audio platform if you do not prefer it on YouTube at SRankPod on Twitch. I always say Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. And like I said, any audio platform. You can catch me at twitch.tv/NoBananaSuits. I've been getting some offline follows, so I don't know if that's from here or from where, but I see you guys and I appreciate you following. You can find the other Sean at SeanWelshBrown on Twitter, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya then.
Get some Nesquik. Peace.